Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining onto the podcast. Firstly, I want to take the time to thank you for joining us, taking the time to listen to our podcast. And please, if I may ask you, subscribe to our podcast. This helps us to grow the podcast, to get the word out there, and to bring you the best content and the best guests in future. Please share this podcast with your friends, with your colleagues, with your family, and let's grow this together to only get the best content as we go. I thought as the first episode of this podcast, it might be good and beneficial for all of us if we start along with the topic of entrepreneurship. This is a topic that became very, very, very highly rated, and a topic that people speak about daily on different platforms. This even became more in the spotlight after the whole COVID epidemic, and people starting their own thing, doing their own thing, and realized that it's not only to work your whole life, but also to enjoy it. By this, I will elaborate on a few things on this entrepreneurial journey, and also this is not scripted, this is from the top of my head, so I'll be speaking as my thought go and share my thoughts with you. Entrepreneurship is a very lonely journey at first, and it will be a lonely journey for quite a while. It's very fulfilling, there's a lot of thoughts, and I think the biggest thing regarding entrepreneurship is sacrifice. There will always be sacrifice doing something, but being an entrepreneur, I think, has so much more sacrifice in it that you need to give. You give a lot more of yourself to the cause you're going to than you would not being in the entrepreneurial space. You sacrifice a lot. It's not just time. It's not just watching the sport event that you want to watch. It's not just not going to the music event. It's not just not going out on a Friday night with your friends to the pub, going to have a dinner. It's about deep inner sacrifice and actually establishing what your purpose are and why you're doing what you're doing. There's many motivations behind it. If you're an entrepreneur, if you strive to be an entrepreneur, there can be many motivations behind the whole thought process. And that may be to give your family a better life, to actually fulfill your dream, or to achieve the milestones, the goals, and live according to the purpose that you defined, that you gave for yourself. May be the only way to actually do it via entrepreneurship. It's a very lonely journey. It's not a journey for everyone. It's not for this kind of journey. It's not for everyone. And at times it may feel to you that you are alone. There's no one behind you. There's no one in front of you. There's no one to carry you. And that's the journey of entrepreneurship. There may be months where you don't even be able to pay your people. You won't be able to pay yourself. But you will make a plan. And you will get to the top of it, and you will then be able to actually pay your people and get on with it. What does it take to be an entrepreneur? Is a good question to ask one. It's a question that a lot of people ask themselves before they embark on this journey, before they leave their 9 to 5 and the comfort of the 9 to 5 to actually start a business and go forward with it. And one of the first things that we can discuss in this journey is risk-taking and innovation. At the heart of an entrepreneur is risk. And an entrepreneur is normally a lot less risk-averse than a person being in a 9 to 5 occupation. And by this, I'm not saying anything bad or talking down regarding a 9 to 5 occupation, but the focus is on entrepreneurship, and I want to give you the whole story around it and the context around it from our side, and how I see the entrepreneurial journey and the voyage to success. Entrepreneurs are normally willing to step into the unknown and embrace uncertainty. This is not only financial unknown and financial uncertainty, but this is the uncertainty if the product, if the service will actually work. It's the potential failure risk that you have. It's all the time, money, effort that goes into this. And there's always a big risk of failure going down the line. And that's where the risk averseness of a person that enjoys being in a 9-to-5 won't work. But I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus more on the entrepreneur that's going forward with it, and what is it that they do that actually helps them to mitigate these risks. And this is to take calculated risks, not just being stupid and blind and going into something not looking at what the risks are and what the consequences are of doing such a thing. It's taking the calculated risks, whether it's a product, a service, or a business model, and actually being honest with yourself. Entrepreneurship is being honest with yourself the whole time. It's being honest with yourself throughout your journey, and not at one moment think that not being honest with yourself will be beneficial for you in this journey, because it won't. It's also innovation, as I said. It's a big part of entrepreneurship is innovation, because that goes hand in hand with risk-taking. Entrepreneurs constantly seek novel solutions, disrupt existing markets, and introduce groundbreaking ideas into the market. That's something to keep in mind, because you want to be in a market and you want to be in front, on top of a market where you can make a difference. In the real world, there's so many innovations that come through daily. There's so many innovations that come through on people's tables, on successful entrepreneurs' tables, from people who seeks to be an entrepreneur. Going further, it's also important to be sustainable. And that is sustainable entrepreneurship. Sustainability isn't just about environmental practices, but it's also about building businesses that thrive over the long term. To be sustainable economically. And I think we can stuck at this sport for a while and just think on what does it mean to be economically sustainable in a business. Because there's so many different aspects of being sustainable and economically sustainable within a business. You have to consider your economic, your social, and your environmental impacts when you look at sustainable entrepreneurship. The biggest one is being economically sustainable, being able to build a business that will grow and that will hopefully last for your lifetime, and even longer than that for your children or for the corporation that you leave behind. It's important to build sustainable practices within your business that makes the business model economical and viable. Scalability is a big thing in entrepreneurship. You have to be able to build something that you can scale. And with this, the thought came to mind now that yes, there's not just entrepreneurs that actually want to build big multi-million-dollar businesses, but you get the entrepreneur that just wants to have a successful coffee shop in a small rural town and have a quiet life. And that is 100% fine. But all these practices, all these ideas that I'm thinking about are still the same. They still apply to if you have a multi-million-dollar corporation or if you just have the coffee shop on the rural town. It comes down to being sustainable, being able to cut costs where you can, being able to optimize your margin, being able to mitigate all your risks, and with that still deliver a great product, a great service. Because in the end, if you don't have a great product or a great service, giving that to your customer, you won't have a business. A business in the end is 99% about the customer at the other side of the counter. It's who buys your product, who believes in you. That makes a lot of a successful entrepreneur. A successful entrepreneur is normally a people's person. It's normally a person that can work with people, that can go around and speak with people, make them feel good, and is actually able to pull out the best of that other person out of them by being in their presence. This is something to keep in mind when you want to do this as well. It's not just sitting behind the scenes and trying to grow the business. As an entrepreneur, you're going to be in the spotlight. You're going to have to do everything at first. It's not something where you will just walk in and everything will be done, and you will have a finance department, you'll have an admin department, you'll have an HR department. That's not how entrepreneurship normally works. Entrepreneurship is normally for the first few months, maybe for the first few years. You're going to be the one doing everything, from selling, from buying, from doing the HR, doing the admin. That is the way you will be sustainable, growing your business, growing the different sectors within your business to be able to deliver your product or service. And as the business grows, you will be able to get people, to employ people, and from there go further. In the current times we're in, it's important to actually also think about the digital transformation and e-commerce aspect of entrepreneurship. What is the type of business that you are in? If you want to start a construction business, your e-commerce and your digital transformation plan will be a lot different than someone who wants to sell products online, maybe manufacture luxury high-end products or arts and crafts that needs proper e-commerce and online presence. Whereas if you're construction, you would most probably have a website and have some of your products displayed on there that you've done, your services and then a page where you have some contact details. It's important to think about the digital stamp, the digital presence that you want for your business. Entrepreneurial vision and leadership is one of the most important aspects, and I would rate this the most important aspect of being a successful entrepreneur is being able to be a good leader and being able to have a vision for the business. And in my view, a good leader makes up someone that can actually bring out the best out of others. It's someone that don't look over everyone's shoulder every day to be able to do their work, but it's someone that can give the vision. It's someone that can show that they believe in the people that they're working with, that's working for them, and bringing out the best in those people, letting everyone do what they are best at and doing that to the best of their knowledge and understanding. And that's visionary leadership. It involves seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. And entrepreneurs setting ambitious goals. Being an entrepreneur, you always shoot high and you might hit the middle. But that's how you grow. Because every time you'll shoot higher, you'll aim higher, and you'll hit the middle, but you're going up. That's the important thing to keep in mind. Being an entrepreneur is being a leader and having the vision. The social impact that you'll have as an entrepreneur in the community that you're in is big. If you have a successful business, if you grow a successful business in your community, you'll have a big impact on what happens in the community and how business might be conducted within that community. It's something to keep in mind, and it's something to keep in context when you do this. People will get to know you. People will want to work with you. and the way you do things might impact the way other businesses do things in the area. I'm going to end off this podcast, and I'm going to focus on the last thing that I'm thinking about now, is the fulfillment of being an entrepreneur. It's very fulfilling to actually be an entrepreneur, go into the world, and being able to deliver a service or a product to people and serving them. Because that is what business is about. It's about serving other people. It's about being the best in the field that you are in. It's about striving to be the best in the field that you are in, and the fulfillment that that brings is something that I would rate only entrepreneurs will understand. If I'm speaking about this, listening to this, entrepreneurs will understand this. I want to thank you again for listening to this podcast. It's a shorter one, and it's the first one. We will have great guests on this podcast, good interviews, and giving you the context around the different topics that we will cover on this podcast. Please subscribe, share with your friends. Until next time, thanks again.